China has actually today become the largest producer of steel. It's also become the largest consumer of steel. So when you see any kind of fly up in commodities pricing, you can just go look and see what is going on in China. Because of this reason, and because post-crisis, China itself began to experience much, much lower rates of growth than we had seen up till that point, it caused a major wobble, complete major chaos throughout the steel sector. So if we all know that we're in an overcapacity position, the question is, well, why don't you just cut back? Why don't you structurally align the industry with what you know to be the demand out there? There are several technical problems with that, and it just comes with how you construct a steel plant. But the more important one is what happens when a steel producer actually does want to cut capacity. If you think of what's just happened in Europe towards the end of last year, where our company, as an example, began to go around saying, well, we're going to shut down some of the capacity in order to lower production capacity, the governments in those particular countries reacted with immediacy and with absolute ferocity. They're absolutely furious, and it is still taking time to actually get to shut that capacity because, unfortunately, the steel industry occupies a position that is deemed by governments of the world to be strategically and symbolically important. So it's not, and also it's a highly, highly fragmented industry. If you think of iron ore, maybe 3, maybe 4 global miners control this market. In steel, the biggest steel producer in the world only controls 10% of the market. So it's a highly fragmented market, and it therefore means that if there is a structural change in the industry that requires a structural response, that takes quite a while. The industry doesn't have the capacity to react quickly to those because of the fragmentation that you find. Clearly, this is slightly different in South Africa, but it's always important to remember South Africa is a tiny, tiny part of a very large market, and anything that we do here actually eventually doesn't really matter. From driving the global steel industry, it's a tiny pimple. As I said to you, we're a very, very tiny part of the globe.